Today we're going to talk about biblical masculinity. So, what does the Bible say a man should be like? First and foremost, God created men to protect women and children. See, what the Bible teaches is that the ranking system of a family goes Jesus, husband, wife, children. The Bible commands that a husband is to love his wife the same way that Jesus loved the church. See, the whole unity of the church and Jesus is a symbol of marriage. It is quite literally, we get married to symbolize the relationship that Jesus has with the church. So whenever you see verses in the Bible that say, wives, you need to submit to your husbands and stuff like that, a lot of women think, oh, that's horrible, that's bad. Why would it say that? Why should women need to submit to their husbands? You realize that what the Bible tells the husbands is, hey, you need to die for your wife. That is a much bigger burden to bear. That you must be willing to lay down your life for your wife, or for your kids for that matter, at any given moment. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to die at a moment's notice to protect your wife, then you are not biblically fulfilling that role of being a husband, a father, a man. Part of what prompted this video is that I saw a video on X of this man who was violently harming a woman. I couldn't even show you a clip of that video on TikTok without this video getting banned. It is heinous to see. And whenever I see stuff like that, it builds up this rage inside of me, like this absolute disgust and infuriated feeling of a need to break someone's face on my knee. And I think what bothered me the most with this video is that someone was just filming this happen. This was out in public. Someone was just filming it happen. The person filming did not go to do anything. Nothing happened. If I witnessed that happening, I don't care about my safety. I don't care if I end up losing that fight. I'm going to end that gentleman and prevent him from ever harming someone like that again. See, a lot of people have this gross idea of Jesus being a pacifist, and a lot of that comes from people having a very incorrect interpretation of a verse where Jesus says if someone were to strike you on your right cheek, turn to them your left also. Now, I want you to picture this, okay? So, say, as we're sitting here, your right side is going to be this side of your face. If I were to strike this side of your face with my right hand, which is predominantly what everyone was right-handed, mostly. If I were to strike you with my right hand, how am I going to hit you on that side of your face? It's going to be like this. It's a backhand. See, what Jesus was teaching there was metaphorical for an insult, where if someone insults you, gives you a backhanded comment, turn to them the other also. Let them insult you. Open it up. Let them. That doesn't harm you. Sticks and stones may break my bones. You remember that one? Words shouldn't matter. So if someone insults you, let them insult you. That's what Jesus taught. Jesus never taught if someone strikes you, then you need to let them assault you. That is absolutely not what Jesus ever taught. Jesus is not and was not and will never be a pacifist. If you go back and you watch our video where we talked about Balaam and the talking donkey, you see a pre-incarnate manifestation of Jesus appearing on the road that causes the donkey that Balaam is riding to veer off. So he hits the donkey. Then later, they're going along this road, and once again, the donkey sees the pre-incarnate Jesus in the middle of the road, and he turns off again. So once again, Balaam hits the donkey. Then finally, they come down this passage where it is impossible to veer off the road, so the donkey just stops and refuses to go forward because the donkey sees the pre-incarnate Jesus holding a double-edged sword. So once again, Balaam hits that donkey, and that donkey opens his mouth. It says that God opened the mouth of the donkey and allowed him to speak. And the donkey asks and said, "Why have you hit me?" And to summarize this, the donkey basically says, because of him. Balaam looks up and sees Jesus, the pre-incarnate Jesus, the angel of the Lord, standing in the middle of the road with a sword. And then he says, "Why have you hit the donkey?" So Balaam responds saying like, well, he wasn't doing right, to which the pre-incarnate Jesus, holding a double-edged sword, says, "If your donkey did not stop, I would have already unalived you." It's like, dude, Jesus is not a pacifist. Jesus is a warrior. Jesus is the ideal version of masculinity in every way. We see Jesus crying, never because of pain. He's never crying during him getting whipped, flogged, beaten. He's not crying whenever he's nailed to a cross, but he is crying in the Garden of Gethsemane whenever he is desperately afraid. He's feeling that emotion. But despite his fear, whenever the time comes, not a single tear leaves his eye, and he embraces that fear. That is what courage is. Courage is acting in opposition to that fear. You're feeling fear, but you're not letting it stop you. You are going anyways. So when did Jesus cry aside from that? Whenever Lazarus died. The shortest verse in the entire Bible says, Jesus wept. Even though Jesus knew he was going to revive Lazarus, he stood there and he cried with Mary and Martha. He cried with them because he saw their pain. He empathized with them, and he cried over something like death. So is it okay for men to cry? Yes. Not over you getting a boo-boo, but it is okay for men to cry about something that matters. A long time ago, I was asked a question on if it's okay for Christians to date non-Christians. And in that video, I said that generally no, but I gave the example of the situation I was currently in, where I was dating a girl who was not a Christian. But we were taking things slow for the sake of me trying to teach her about Christianity in the hopes that she became a Christian. About 3 weeks ago, that relationship ended. And as a result of that ending, I have cried many times because I did not want to end it. I did not want to leave this girl. I wanted to marry this girl, but I chose that I needed to obey God. So I am dealing with that pain. I am going through that the way I should as a man. Where it hurts, I cry, but I push on because I have to obey God above fulfilling the wants that I have. We are not to be unequally yoked. And so in the future, no, I will absolutely never, ever even consider dating a non-Christian ever again. So a man must be protective. A man must be courageous. A man must be able to actually show his emotions properly. I think one of the best books that you could read outside of the Bible that's going to explain this is going to be The Warrior Poet Way by John Lovell, because he talks about the two distinctions with that, where it's the warrior and the poet. It's the lover and the fighter. It's the lion and the lamb. It is living like Jesus. It is being like Jesus. Jesus is the ultimate example of a man, where he was loving, he was caring, he was nurturing, but he was protective, he was sacrificial. That is how every man must live their lives. If you expect your wife to submit to you and respect you the way that she is commanded to, then you need to obey God's commands. You need to be a husband that is worth respecting. You need to be a husband that is worthy of being submitted to. You need to lead the way that Jesus Christ led. And you need to be willing to die at any moment's notice to protect your wife. Be loving and be very protecting. Those two things are one, and they are the most important roles of a man. I hope this made sense. Check out my Patreon, buy my books, let me know what's next, follow me on X. God bless.